Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and once again, although there is a seasonal event this week, Trial by Fire, it basically gives you a pre-made deck using all the new cards. We've already made decks with the new cards, and so no need for the seasonal event, might as well just play Standard. That's what we're doing today, and we are doing the deck that has been requested extensively from all of you guys in the comments, so let's go give it a look. So you guys asked, and you shall receive. Today we are playing a Monsters White Frost Wild Hunt deck. I went back and forth as to whether we wanted to go Devotion or not Devotion. It's not Devotion in this case, so we have a lot of the big Wild Hunt cards, of course. Cards like Eredin to deal extra damage from our Frost, and then the new cards, such as Caranthir, that gets boosted based on how much Frost damage we've done, so this is our big finisher. We also have Tirnalia, another one of the new cards. This one will give us a boost on one of our units based on how many unique bronze Wild Hunt cards we have, and we have 9, so that is a pretty huge deployability there. And then on the Order ability, we can give ourselves the Frost that we lost at the end of one round to start off the next round, if that is of interest, and also play Red Riders, which is potentially a valuable card for us too. Other new cards, I'll highlight those. We have the Aen Elle Aristocrat, which is good for sustaining your Frost. The Slave Trader, which can both set an opposing card down to 1 and lock an opposing card for the first time for monsters-based units. Relevant for Devotion? Not so relevant for us because we aren't going Devotion, but this is a great target for your Tirnalia deployability to get a huge boost. Then, other than that, we have the standard engine for Frost decks, that being the Ancient Foglet, so either you slam them when you already have the Frost, or you start off relatively small, just be a little bit careful in that case, but over time, as you add the Frost, he'll get bigger, so that is one of your primary point-scoring cards. Then, other than that, we have lots of bronzes, and there are actually some pretty decent bronze Wild Hunt cards. Red Riders for adding Frost or replaying one of your Wild Hunt cards, which can be helpful. I'll just take you through some of the other options here. Wild Hunt Bruiser, move a card. So if your opponent is row stacking on one row and trying to minimize the Frost damage, then move one of them to the other row so you're getting Frost damage in both rows every turn. Slave Trader we just talked about. Naglfar's Crew, more Frost, boost from the Frost. Naglfar Taskmaster, needless to say, don't play this card. It is atrociously awful. So you're just mulliganing it. It is only here to support the Tirnalia deployability. So, I mean, technically you might want the Purification, but probably not the best option for you. Aristocrat, we talked about that already. Wild Hunt Warrior damage, and if you have Dominance, can get the Frost going as well, which is a nice little bonus. Wild Hunt Hound, mostly a card that is, again, here just to set up a bigger Tirnalia deployability, so for the most part, if you see it, you're probably going to want to mulligan it. Wild Hunt Navigator, though, is potentially amazing. If you have loaded up on a ton of Frost, then that deployability, especially if you have Dominance, can be humongous. And so this can be, if things are going well with the Frost, a great target for your Red Riders. Get a little bit of Frost in one of your opponent's rows, replay this to boost up one of your cards, and that is another good way, if you need a way to boost up your Slave Trader to make sure that this gets more powerful than whatever card you targeted with the deployability. So those are the key Wild Hunt Frost-based synergies. Because we are not Devotion, we do have a few other options here. Most notably, I've thrown in the combination of Yennefer Conjuror, which deals damage to our opponent's highest unit, or units if they have multiple cards that are all tied for the highest number. This is good for denying your opponent's dominance because, of course, we want to make sure we have the highest cards on the board. That's how we set up some of our Wild Hunt cards. So make sure you do that. Also, that can help to line up all of your opponent's highest cards so you can get an Igni to destroy multiple of your opponent's units. Or, of course, there are some new immune cards like Sove, and a little while back, the addition of Tibor could be good targets for Geralt's Igni as well. So either you combine it with Yennefer and you can potentially wipe multiple cards simultaneously, or you just go for whatever the biggest target is and don't have to worry about if your opponent has immunity on that card or not. And, you know, just to help protect those guys, we have Cave Troll, which if you aren't looking at Yen, then you could put, say, Eredin behind that. You could put your big Ancient Foglet behind that, or whatever happens to be getting all of your boosts, like Caranthir. So that being said, of course, it's all about the Frost damage, and with that, also setting up some boosts as well. Alright, and I did throw together an alternate version of the list as well that plays totally differently. It is all based around just spamming as much Frost as possible in round 1, not even trying to win, per se, in round 1, but just have so much Frost left over at the end of the round that then in round 2, you can use Tirnalia's Order ability to bring all of that Frost back onto the board. Then that means that we have a ton of Frost that we can use to set up all of our other Frost engines, and in particular, use Dwimveandra in the range row to reset the Order ability on Tirnalia, so we can once again add all of that Frost that we finished round 1 with, and that means that when we do things like play Wild Hunt Navigator, or the Ancient Foglet, those become humongous point slams. And then rather than focusing on other high-end Wild Hunt cards, no, those are amazing, better than any gold would be. So we're just using teleportation to replay those, as well as Red Riders. So that's really all there is to it. It's just everything else here is based around getting Frost, and as much Frost as possible on the board. Technically speaking, loading up on Frost in one row is preferable, because that way you're only losing one turn of Frost per turn rather than 2 turns of Frost per turn. And because you have so much carryover coming from the location in round 2, when you play this, you don't really need to win round 1. This is just going to set you up for tons of points, and then assuming that you still have at least one Dwimveandra remaining in round 3, you can of course reset the order ability on that location for round 3, and that becomes your win condition in round 3 as well. So I think this one is crazy powerful. I kind of suspect that it's going to get hotfixed very soon, so play it while you still can. So let's go see it in action. All right, so going up against Scoia'tael here, and they'll go first. All right, so we have Caranthir as our point slam, but we probably want to save him for a later round. Tyrannalia, probably a round 2 or round 3 play, so we probably play around the Foglets in round 1 if we can get enough Frost to support them, but we don't have that much Frost here at the moment. Let's dump you. And, I mean, yes, Navigators can boost you enough to set you up potentially, but you're still probably in need of a little more Frost generation. Okay, well, I mean, there's Igni. Hard to say no to it, but just looking for a little more Frost. Okay, Whisperer. Which will obviously create another copy of itself. Can't lock it with these guys. Early to be playing Foglet. Like to move a copy of you on the next turn, then we have units in both rows to double down on the damage. But still, just what do we play turn 1 then? I guess it's a proactive Foglet. It could very well get answered. Like, you could potentially justify Cave Troll, but right there's Best Boy. Okay, Vanadane. So they're trying to set up a Waylay Bomb. All right, so now we can actually move stuff with leader ability, get people going in both rows. Well, I mean, that would be if we have the Frost to do that, but we kind of don't, is the really awkward thing. Guess we could Tyrannalia for the boost and just save the order for round 2. Keep this round short. Then we use this to lock Vanadane. I think we kind of have to go that route. In which case, yeah, this was kind of a whiff on the Foglet. I mean, I guess we could still go Frost in our next turn, but... Simlas, whoa. Round 1? Okay, sure. If you insist. I mean, I guess. Let's see, out of curiosity. We're on 20 now, so Igni could remove you. If we were to move you over there, we'd no longer have initiative, so we'd need to wait for them to play a little bit more before we could double down on the 8 removal. It's also not really the way I anticipated we'd be using Igni. They've overcommitted big time in this round, so I think we kind of just use the throwaway here, or we go Tyrannalia and just bank on the deploy, or rather the order ability carryover. I think I mean, I do like the Navigator a lot, but it is 4 provisions, so I guess we go for a just throwaway Navigator here, and we leave it at that. And we are basically just saying, invest whatever you'd like. We're deliberately investing less than you are. Because they went Vanadane and Simlas Waylay Bomb in round 1. That's insane. All right, so I mean, maybe that's going to boost them when we pass, but I don't really care at this point. They've obviously invested a whole lot more than we have at this stage, and it is exactly what that is, but that's one of their better traps, and it is, I suppose, good to know that they have traps as well. All right, so now we have a tiny bit of Frost generation. Royal Decree we can use to get Eredin would be a good way to get more happening. Naglfar's crew, Ard Gaeth is really what we... and Red Riders, the things we're looking for here. For more Frost. So I think we take away some of the Frost synergies until we can get more Frost going. You're just a throwaway to set up Tyrannalia. Okay. Saber-Tooth Tiger. Going Unitless here. So they have Eldain here, given how they used a trap, and they have Saber-Tooth Tiger. That is becoming pretty clear. So How do we want to play around this guy? Cave Troll can take the hit better than other people could. I think we might have to do that. I mean, clearly they're pushing pretty hard, right? So I think we do this. Okay, Orb of Insight. But we have Dominance, which means we can get some Frost going, which I think is, at this point, definitely something that we need to be starting up on immediately. So let's do that. Okay. Some more potential carryover here. I mean, I'm kind of... We could see if we can just wait for them to invest a ton in this and then remove it with Imlerith's Wrath. I mean, obviously this is a 3-point Deadeye, so I was kind of thinking we'd use it on something bigger, but that remains to be seen to a certain extent. Can use Red Riders for more Frost if we'd like. We could just load up on a ton in this row. That might be what we end up doing. Alternatively, we don't really care about the lock on you all that much, but it could be a way to reset you. We can get you boosted up from Tyralia, which, you know what? We might end up doing that. All right, let's do it. It's not really for the lock, because obviously you don't have the ability, but it will be for the resetting. Okay. Well, here's the thing. If you're gonna deal damage equal to the provision cost of the unit that we play, or the card we play now, Tyralia is gonna hurt a lot. So that's a little concerning. If you're gonna destroy the highest unit that we have when we play a special, that's also a little concerning. Gonna deal 5 damage to the next unit we play. Anything would die. I think might need to live for this. And that's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. Do you check after this damage to see if it's over that Deadeye? Darn. That stinks. Okay, well, we guessed wrong. Okay, Yorveth's Gambit. Okay, so yeah, they are a lot more of a trap stack than they led us to believe in round 1. Alright, so we can get if we want to, a Red Riders in here. I mean, the Frost aspect is a non-factor, but we need to get Eredin out. We could. I mean, they're, for the most part, going unitless, which is proving a little bit problematic thus far. Would bump you to the next row with leader ability. That would eventually drop you down to a 6 or lower, and that would reset you. At that point, you know, we've done some damage to you through some other stuff, so it's not as much value on the reset, but maybe we do that. That means you're going to be a 6 on deploy, which is slightly safer if that's damage, except it's not. Might be 2 damage to every unit in a row, given how we are going to be row stacking behind our defender to a certain extent. Yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So now they have units in both rows, which means we can benefit from Red Riders Double Frost, which is probably what we're going to look to do here. I mean, we could Imlerith's Wrath to destroy a Deadeye, which seems really silly, but I mean, they did invest a lot in it, right? So, I mean, there is something to be said for that. But I think we try to at least make it possible for Caranthir to be a decent point slam here. Or we could go Royal Decree into Eredin, but I think we go Red Riders Double Frost first. Both enemy rows. Okay, another waylay. They have now gotten rid of our defender. We've at least bought enough time for Foglet to, one would hope, get out of removal range. So now, and again, we could remove you, but we're kind of just hoping that you're going to get big enough that that's not necessary, which might be wishful thinking unless we break out something big here. I mean, Yen is supposed to be set up for Igni, which is a little late for that. Give us enough time for Yen, but that could have been a consideration earlier. I think it's probably still Eredin. I think it is probably still Eredin. Let's not row stack anymore. I cannot see what number is on this row when the pig is there, but I'm pretty sure that that is a 1. Let's make it a little bit bigger over there. Oh, also, yeah, no, there's Saber-Tooth Tiger, so we should be row stacking. That's kind of silly. All right, so Caranthir is now at 13, which we probably do need to play either this turn or next turn, because otherwise, I mean, Igni is a brick right now, and Imlerith's Wrath would be to remove a card that we're planning on resetting anyway, and we'll reset on our next turn. So, I mean, obviously, the longer we wait for him, the bigger he becomes, yes, but don't want to use Imlerith's Wrath on you because you can come back out. Don't want to use it on you. That's a 1-point play. You're about to get destroyed anyway. So, it's not perfect, but it does kind of need to be Caranthir, and we can put him in the range row so that we're not getting the Saber-Tooth proc anymore. So that was, of course, our best point slam. So we don't love having to use it here. Is this Eldain? Are they going all in on round 2? I wouldn't necessarily rule that out. No, they're passing. Okay. That's not that much damage. Okay. So we win round 2, and in fact, we win with a card to spare here. So it felt really awkward, but we did make it work. All right, and this is the card we so desperately wanted earlier, but let's get rid of you. You're here just to power up Tirnalia. Okay, with Frost, you are much better. Naglfar, let's just see what the options are at this point. It's guaranteed Yen. Okay, so this round is basically Yen plus Igni, and trying to set that up as quickly as possible. They're presumably going to Eldain. They will not have as many traps, but if we can line everything up at 3 power for Igniing an entire row, that'd be amazing. I'm not sure we're going to be able to pull that off, but I think this is about as good as it gets, right? Yeah. Okay, so what is the turn 1 play, though? It's probably Naglfar to Yen. Does give them a chance to react to her, but we already used our defender, so there's not really much we can do about that. So I think we kind of have to. We will break this out once they start playing stuff. Smuggler. Well, we can move that. Alright, so we can hit you here. Order of operations. We want to make sure we have maximum frostage for Navigator. This is what, probably last turn, second to last turn. So then these guys a little bit earlier. So yeah, let's go. Suppose here and here. So it's probably going to be Navigator on Yen Conjuror. Then maybe Tirnalia to replay you with Red Riders and get a little more Frost going as well. I think that's probably the play. Yeah. Okay. So boost you. Red Riders. Replay a Bronze. We'll first add the Frost to, I guess, this row. Replay you and use you to reboost Yen. Now, of course, hoping they don't have tall removal, but at this point, at 20 points on Yen, they'd need that. Otherwise, they will not succeed. At this point, Igni is probably not going to be hitting much here because they do not have a lot of points on the board. And if we are about to Imlerith's Wrath, then I guess we might as well do it on the Harmony unit. But otherwise, it's a little bit overkill. All right, just play a whole bunch of 3s in that. Actually, well, no, you have 18 points, darn. Okay, so yeah, it's not igniable. We'll still be fine. We still have the lead here. We still actually already won, but you know, alas. Idea was, of course, to try to line up everybody on 3 power or higher to pull that off. But there we go. We'll take the win. All right, so going up against monsters here, and we'll go first. All right, so love Ard Gaeth round 1. Get the Frost going early and get the Echo as well. We do have Igni, which is probably something we'd like to save for round 3, especially if we can combine that with Yen. Any cards that we have here that are just Wild Hunt throwaways, kind of. With the Wild Hunt Hound, let's mulligan that. Can help us sustain Frost. That's good stuff. 2 Slave Traders. I'm not sure how effective that's going to be when they have Carapace, right? So that Veil could shut you guys down. So I think we probably mulligan at least one of you. And to have Caranthir is definitely nice. All right, maybe we stick with this. I don't know if we want to dump both of you. That might be a little excessive. It can still reset their cards, right? So something to be said for that as well. I think, why don't we begin with the Aristocrats and then we start with the Frost? Because I think that, from what I've experienced thus far, it seems like that's the best way to sustain Frost. Okay, so are they Thrive? Didn't really expect that, but all right. So I mean, we really wanted to, we could double Aristocrat, but maybe we save one of those for a later round. So that is kind of an interesting idea, but okay. You know, if we can reset stuff, then obviously Trader would be very useful, especially if we can get the lock. But all right, so why don't we'll do this, and don't need to do this yet. Okay, Harpy Egg. Ooh, not loving the Death Wish. But, I mean, we could move you and lock you. And it's not great value from the lock, but it is a card that is basically immediately going to be lower than Slave Trader, so it's not that ambitious, but it does work. And we do want to get people on both rows as quickly as possible, right, to maximize our frost damage. Either that, or we could just go with a kind of early Navigator. But, yeah, maybe we do that. So, gonna need to, well, maybe we just accept the fact that you're gonna get destroyed and spawn in something. Okay, Bridge Troll, more Death Wish. Not loving that. I mean, we could. Slave Trader plus Stratagem to immediately lock something. That works too. Do that on the Bridge Troll. Do that on Utah. What, it's 6 points? 6 points in the Harpy? That might actually still be the best option. Oddly enough, that might actually still be the best option. Just lock you, and I mean, this might even be our last turn. The Veil on you is pretty tall, but that doesn't work with the really. All right, they're using a Foglet. They don't have any. Oh no, normal Foglet, not Ancient Foglet. Okay, I think we can just pass here. We get a little bit of passive boostage coming from the Slave Trader. They're going to take a little more damage from the Frost. So it is early to end round one, but we'll see what they try to do here. Okay, and in that case, we'll take round one. All right, so we won on even, so if we want to, we could push here a little bit, and we do have Yen to combine with Geralt. I don't love the amount of Death Wish we were seeing, because we, of course, have fair bit of damage, and that would potentially make matters a little trickier if we're risking triggering a whole bunch of Death Wish. But we have the Ard Gaeth plus Foglet is definitely a nice combo to have. Aristocrat, I mean, Tyrannalia for the Red Riders would be good if we still had the Navigator, but we don't. They're good cards, yes. I'm just not sure how much they synergize with each other. It's the primary question that I have. How aggressively are we pushing here? I mean, I guess we could have just put a couple of throwaway cards out here as well, but no, I think we might go for this one. I think we might try to push 2-0. Maybe we go Cave Troll, Yen early, and that just is set up for Igni. I mean, granted, it means, yeah, Caranthir is going to be kind of awkward here. If we wanted to play him, we were going to need to play him pretty early. She-Troll. You know, I mean, she's row-locked. So that's not that difficult to deal with. Okay, I think we still proceed according to plan here. I suppose that does explain a lot of the Death Wish, right? Okay, Weavis. Oh, they were going to try to create a whole bunch of She-Trolls, weren't they? I'm pretty sure that was their plan. But that's also row-locked, so that is also something we probably will proceed to move. We might just point slam Caranthir here on this turn and go, well, I mean, we go leader ability here, move Weavis. We're still getting some frost on this turn as well, so I guess we can delay him a little bit, and that means, what, we can go get an Ancient Foglet down there. It's probably a good thing to do. All right, so basically we're just messing with all of their row-locked units. It's our point slam, and that will get bigger if we continue to add more frost on the board, which we will at least eventually do with Ard Gaeth. Okay, Naglfar. Now that would be a pretty nice card to lock with the Slave Trader, which would take a little bit of effort to do. Also kind of delayed. Makes it more difficult to play Caranthir, but what I'm thinking is we go Tyrannalia. Oh no, we need Slave Trader first and then Tyrannalia. I think is probably the play. We can at least lower you down a little bit every turn with Yen. Yeah, okay. So gonna continue to hide stuff behind the Cave Troll a bit here, I think. Let's do this, do that. we're actually pretty close to resetting you and locking you with Slave Trader even without. So, there is that, I suppose. Okay, that's another normal, not ancient Foglet. Alright, so yeah, now Caranthir is going to get weaker every turn at this point, unless and until we start playing Ard Gaeth soon. So, well, it is nice they're both lined up at 7, but no, it's too small for Igni anyway. So, I mean, it is a double yen, but still thinking, I mean, it's double yen, but we should probably still tier Nalia here. Boost you, reset you, drop you down to 1. Sure, it's 1 less point of damage for yen, but I think on net, that's still a better play. Okay. They've apparently given up all hope. So, I mean, it was going to be probably Ard Gaeth to set up Caranthir on a later turn, and Imlerith, whatever else they played that was big, and finish with Igni. But not necessary. They don't think they can pull it off, so we'll take the 2-0 win. Alright, so going up against Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Alright, so round 1 is all about spawning as much frost as possible on our opponent's side of the board. Technically, don't even need to win the round, but we are building around our location, and with that, the order ability to carry over a bunch of frost from one round to the next. So we will want to use Dwimveandra to reset that order ability, but not yet, and Navigator will want to replay that in round 3 as well. Red Riders, same thing, but it's just a little preemptive at the moment, unfortunately. So yeah, it's all about the frost, and we have a few ways, not a ton of ways, but a few ways to make that happen. Yeah, decent amount. Okay, you're gonna poison the card that you put down there. Sure. Alright, so technically speaking, we prefer Frost Range Row. So we're probably gonna go Leader ability, move you Range Row, and then start applying more Frost. We have an Aristocrat, or a way to get an Aristocrat to help sustain the Frost. No, not really. Okay. So normally, Eredin to maximize Frost damage, right? I mean, we could. So I guess we will. But we're kind of just giving them something to go after, right? Alright, they're going to steal them. Sure. Alright, so now all about the frost. So take your pick. Scepter of Storms. Why not? Add the frost. Okay, Thirsty Dame. I mean, again, the only thing you're going to be giving statuses to is the Ho'ukim that you put on the board. But more frost. So we could move Thirsty Dame into the other row, or Fangs the Empire into the other row, and increase the damage with the frost, but we're not really trying to do that, because what that does is that increases the rate at which we lose frost. We're only losing 1 turn of frost per turn if we have all of our frost in one row. If we have split our frost between 2 rows, then we're losing it twice as quickly, right? Okay, and another Fangs the Empire, I mean, sure. We do put something in the other row, but now let's go more frost and continue to go unitless. Or we could leader building you into that row, I suppose. Alright, so they do pass. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to sort of delay on our units so we could throw Triss down at the end and maybe still eke out a win if we wanted to. We could maybe drop the Foglet, which might be sufficient as well. But let's go Triss here. We're looking for... Yes, good. I was a little concerned that they were going to have too many specials, that we would not see our own. But I think we do this because this might be our last turn. Question is, do we throw down a Foglet, which is technically a card we like to build around? In a later round, I would, get boosted by 13, so it's a 17, which means we win the round. That might be worth doing. We would like to see a Foglet in a later round, yes, but just to seal the deal on a round 1 win, I suppose, is worth doing. Alright, would have loved to have seen Ard Gaeth in the previous round to add up more frost, and Operator is great for playing those, or spawning, those Foglets without actually having to play the one that is originally from your hand, so you can save some for round 2 or round 3, which is the kind of thing we would have liked right about now. But we'll get location with Avallac'h Sage. Love Oneiro, because that can give us more reliable cards for round 2 and round 3. Matta at this stage is what? Location. But we actually don't want to do that. It's going to be Avallac'h after that, which is probably fine. We don't want to use Matta immediately, otherwise we are going to brick Avallac'h. So we should go Avallac'h first. And with him, get our location. With that, boost Avallac'h. So, small little boost, that's not really what we're worried about here. The deployability is small compared to the order ability that we're about to use. Okay, it's Rot Tosser. We're going to put Cow Carcass over here. I mean, the poison's a little bit concerning for things not named Ancient Foglet, but we are probably about to go Oneiromancy into Ancient Foglet and maybe put it right here to tank that hit, but we kind of want stuff in the melee row as well, because we have some stuff that needs to go range row, and we want to be mindful of Eredin, because that would hit us pretty hard. So I think what we'll do, we probably will go Oneiromancy here into Foglet. Don't love that because we played one in the previous round, it is our only remaining one. Now we use the order ability, and although it looks like it's zeros, I promise you it's a lot more than that. Now, we don't want to replay the Foglet, so let's instead just spam Frost in that row. So yeah, Avallac'h is going to take the hit, and we like to have some other units on the board so we can direct some boosts at things not the Ancient Foglet, so that it's not just, 100 points on a Foglet and an obvious thing for them to go after, and if they have an answer for it, then we're in trouble. So if we can split those boosts, then it's much safer. They steal Matta, and they give us an amazing card. Okay, Van Morlhem Cupbearer. Oh, to purify the Foglet. Now, that's a little scary. I thought they were going to go for the poison to remove Avallac'h, but no, that's potentially much more threatening. Okay, so now the goal here, technically speaking, because we won round 1 now, we have a little bit of flexibility. We still have the resilience on the location, so we don't need to go for the 2-0 win. I was thinking we might, but we could reset that order ability with Dwimveandra either in this round or in round 3 if we prefer. Now, of course, this is our last Ancient Foglet, so we'd kind of like to go for the 2-0 here. So I think we do still go this route. And then this means we get another round of Frost and another Red Riders, which means we can load up on even more Frost here and make this guy bigger. But again, if they have some poison or resetting or toll removal, then that is potentially an issue. But with all this Frost, we could also point slam with the Navigator and boost someone else instead. Yeah, it's the poison. So, I mean, technically speaking, you don't usually want to replay the Foglet because that means you're resetting the boost, but it also means we could get rid of the poison, which might actually be worth doing on this occasion, because he's still going to be pretty big, even if we were to reset him here. Let's save Dwimveandra so we can reset that order ability on the location in round 3 if we'd like. Let's instead go Red Riders directly from hand here, I think, and use that. Usually that would be for the Navigator, but they've made matters a little bit trickier for us, so we're going to spawn Frost. Suppose we'll put it in this row. Excuse me. Oh, because he's not a Wild Hunt unit. That's why. He's technically not a Wild Hunt unit. I assumed that he was because he synergizes so much with Wild Hunt, but he does not. He does not count as Wild Hunt, technically speaking. So you know what? Fair game. I erred. All right, in that case, I mean, we could still point slam with Navigator, and that is still very valuable, but is that worth pushing for here? You know what? We should still Ard Gaeth, at the very least. So that gives us a lot more Frost carrying over into the next round. And there's the Eredin they stole from us. Okay, so yeah, that was the Ard Gaeth was mostly set up for the next round and to see if we could bait them into playing something decent, and we kind of did. And we also knew we were going to get the echoed copy, so that's not bad. Similarly, for that reason, do we just throw down Matta to, what's it going to be? It's going to be Avallac'h, which is more Frost, which means potentially a little more Frost carryover, and that might be worth doing. kind of, at this point, just bleeding in round 2 rather than pushing 2-0. Okay, Damien trying to replay something from our hands, which I don't really think they can get much value out of. I mean, I was thinking we'd still use Avallac'h here, although we could potentially opt not to do that and just deny them the Damien altogether. So that's probably worth doing. You know, if this is just for the Frost carryover, then why not just save the Frost for round 3? So it'll be interesting to see if they do still have to play here in order to use Damien's order. And they do. Okay, they have potentially some more lock, which is good to know. Alright, so again, we've used all of our Foglets, which is a little unfortunate because that is our fastest way of loading up on points here, but Dwimveandra can still reset the order ability on our location, give us a bunch of frost, and then we can use Navigator to boost someone up from that, and then we can use teleportation to replay Dwimveandra, rinse, repeat. I think that means, what, Navigator is of interest here. Avallac'h for, I mean, is Ard Gaeth preferable, or could we perhaps go for, I mean, Aristocrat as probably. It's a card you'd want for round 1, not so much for later rounds. Okay, so they are still planning on the statuses, which I suppose is good to know. I mean, if we're going to replay cards, then that doesn't matter that much. But maybe we bait out some lock on the Aristocrat since we don't actually care about her, but they don't know that. Alright, Illusionist. Ooh, that's interesting and potentially a little scary. So I was thinking we'd go Dwimveandra to reset this as soon as possible. On the other hand, they do still have leader ability, and we'd like to play Oneiromancy before they get the chance to steal it from us. We don't have a great option for it yet. We'd ideally already have the Frost on the board so that Navigator can be much bigger. I think we might just live with this. For now. And we want to use this immediately, I suppose. And just get more Frost. Don't really need to replay. We do have a Wild Hunt unit on the board, but just go here. Frost there as well. So it is 28 and 4. Technically, the Aristocrat is helping us a little bit to sustain that Frost. Okay, War Council. Into another Illusionist, this time probably for, what, I mean, the other Foglet? Yeah. This is going to be them stealing Oneiromancy. We accepted that was a possibility, and we felt like we were ultimately okay with that. The early Oneiromancy, not as much of a risk as, say, you know, a last-second Oneiromancy to Grealt into one of our stronger cards. Okay, but if they're going to drop a Cahir, then we could be in trouble. Oh, but Cahir's been nerfed, Lids. Don't worry about it. Here's no longer the golden boy, stealing all of your opponent's boosts. Okay, so now I think we go, we can teleportation, reset this, but the Red Riders is not quite as effective unless and until we get the Navigator on the board to replay her, so I think we are probably still looking to do that next. I think that is probably still the play. Would like for it to be you who receives the boost, because we're going to be replaying these two quite a bit. So, it means we'd lose the boost if we were to replay them. Okay, Rot Tosser. Going to be kind of hilarious to teleportation and just remove this cow carcass, but we probably won't. Instead, we will probably proceed. I mean, we could just use Avallac'h, which could kind of block things to a certain extent. It's probably what is technically the right move. We don't really care about him nearly as much. We also don't want you to get removed. But we could teleportation on either of you two. Like to be able to reset you or replay you as well, but we'll prioritize protecting the 32 for now. Make sure it's Frost. Alright, load up more on their defender. Alright, it's Letho. Curious what they go for here. It's another thirsty game. I haven't had that many statuses. I assume they still have at least some poison left, right? But I think now we take this opportunity to replay you and ditch the poison in the process. Should make it much harder for them to remove you. Although that was really the last thing we wanted to do with you. Now we go here. We should probably still replay. Go Frost. Replay you. And think we can now boost Dwimveandra. I don't think we're going to be replaying you anymore. The boosts get bigger, of course, every time we add more Frost to the board. But yeah, I think we can, you know, if we're looking to replay something, we can just have it be you. I'd like to have some more boosts in this row, though. That's kind of scary that everything boosted is in that range row. Okay, fortunately, with a little Avallac'h in the middle, so no need to worry about damaging adjacent units by 60. Yeah, I think it's going to be Navigator, or, yeah, it's going to be Navigator to boost up this Navigator. Otherwise, we could Red Riders replay you, but then we're just going to end up boosting more things in the range row because you can't boost yourself, and that's probably not a risk that we want to be taking. So, or we could teleportation on you, but as I said, you know, we just boosted you, so we kind of were assuming that was not something we were planning to do. So just do this, boost you, so now if it's a Eredin, they still presumably will not be able to catch us, I guess. Why not? So slightly more damage on you then in that row, just in case. So what is their last play? It's Devil's Puffball, and that is definitely not enough, so we will take the win. All right, so going up against Skellige here, and they'll go first. All right, so in this match, we're doing a little bit of a meme setup with a absolutely crazy combo, if we can pull it off, that is all based around stacking as much Frost as possible in round 1, then resetting or regaining that Frost with our location in round 2 and round 3. So we actually don't care about winning round 1. All we care about is stacking as much Frost as possible, which means, yes, we will have stuff we want to use, like you 2 in round 3, like you 3 in round 3, but you're not as relevant here and now. So let's dump you guys. Okay, that's not ideal. We do not have nearly as much Frost as we would like to have, I don't think. Let's see. How much Frost do we have? So I also would like to have an Aristocrat on the board to help sustain that Frost, but with a deck here that seems to be running raids, that's probably going to get immediately answered, right? So might we need to lead with Eredin for Frost? So Frost here, Frost here. Don't really want to use Red Riders because that's a way to replay our Wild Hunt cards, and that's something we want for a later round. Maybe Avallac'h, turn 1. I guess it's still you, though. I guess it's still you. Now, except technically speaking, range row is far, far better than melee row because you can potentially brick this entire combo if you are forced into loading up on the Frost in the melee row specifically. Definitely not speaking from experience, but that's why I use leader ability first. Okay, so like I said, we don't actually care much about winning round 1. So it's all just about maximizing the Frost here. And however we see fit to do that. Again, like technically Aristocrat early is best, but I'm skeptical as to how well we're going to be able to keep her on the board here. So, I mean, like, maybe we take our chances. If we do this, though, we're not putting any Frost on the board on this turn anyway, so maybe we're waiting on her, although I'm not really sure when it's ever going to be a better time to play her. So maybe she's just a no-go altogether. So, in that case, Frost, I'm going to deliberately, obviously, when they have only units in one row, we're going to target that row. But it is nice to go one row in particular, because that means you're losing one turn of Frost every turn, rather than losing a turn here and a turn here. So it goes down by 1 each turn, rather than just down by 2 each turn. And that does add up. Okay, War of Clans. No Death Blow. That will still destroy Eredin when you're playing it from the graveyard. Again, don't care about whether we win this round or not, but the bigger problem is just that we don't have that much Frost. We have a whole lot in our deck. Not as much here. So we'll go Avallac'h, and I like finishing with you if we don't have the Aristocrat to sustain. Otherwise, it's hard to keep the double rows going, as I was saying. Does make matters a little bit tricky, so do here. And maybe we'll go Aristocrat and on our next turn, move a Crow into this row, and then we can at least sustain. We can generate Frost on the same turn we're playing her, so we aren't just wasting a turn with the Frost expiring. Because again, usually the earlier the better for the Aristocrat, but I'm deliberately not playing her as early because, well, the raids. Okay, Feral Bond is going to immediately destroy the Wolf, right? Interesting choice. But now, sure, we'll go Aristocrat. We'll move you just so that we're still generating Frost on the same turn. So this will stay at 9. Or go up to, yeah, stay at 9. Alright, they'll pass. And with the bleed damage and the frost damage that we're about to put down from Ard Gaeth, I think we actually will. We're going to take some bleed as well. It's going to be close, actually. But as I was saying, we technically don't have to win this round. But no, we're still going to win it, though. I do believe. Right? Especially if we destroy the wolves that they had destroyed to bring it back onto our side now. Okay, so it'll be 12 and instead of 3. The pig makes it hard to see, but yeah, 12 and 3, I believe. So could have been better, but not bad. Not bad. And we do still win round 1, even though that wasn't really part of the plan. All right, so now it is all built around our location and getting that down and then reusing the order ability repeatedly with Dwimveandra and Wild Hunt Navigator giving us boosts based on the frost as well. So what we'd like to do is probably get the location down with Avallac'h Sage and then use Oneiro to get Ancient Foglet as well, I am thinking, is probably the way to go about doing it. So this works. Maybe we dump you. Oh, well, there is an Ancient Foglet. Okay, so that's helpful as well. Okay, so order of operations, though. The problem is we play an Ancient Foglet turn 1. They're probably going to immediately answer it with either leader ability or with a raid from their hand, right? So it's a little bit concerning. So we might just go Avallac'h Sage immediately into location. Yeah, I think so. Let's go here. Get Tirnalia. Boost up Avallac'h. We at least have a target for the boost. It's not a huge deal. It's all about the order. It looks like it's zeros, which is terrifying, especially if you've invested entirely in the frost aspect and not on the ploy aspect of the location. But don't worry, because if we do this, suddenly it's 13 and it's 12. Which is a lot, and so we don't have any Wild Hunt units on the board right now. So what we're going to do for this round is we're going to just go either Frost for 4 turns. If we're not going to have Dominance, no, we should. We definitely should. So I suppose we can go both rows in that case. And Foglet is going to be huge. 23. But the thing is, we're not done yet. We are far from done here, because we are planning on reusing that order ability repeatedly with Dwimveandra after Dwimveandra using our teleportations. We'll go multiple navigators with Tirnalia. They're going to try to remove it with Gutting Slash. That's going to be easier said than done. Now, if they have more full-blown toll removal, then we could be in serious trouble here. We're probably going to want to not put every single boost on Ancient Foglet. But what's the correct order of operations here? Don't want to order ability at this stage, really, until we get Wild Hunt Navigator on the board, so I think it is this. I think it is this next, technically speaking. And we'll boost you for now, I suppose, just that we don't have every single boost on one card and just beg them to remove Ancient Foglet. Okay, Fukusia into what? I don't think they played anything particularly big. Oh, it's a Warlord. Okay, so yeah, we're setting up the raids. Now, if they do destroy this, that's going to be a little bit annoying, but we do have an Oneiro, which we could use to get another one. Otherwise, this can be into another Foglet, which could just be a point slam at the end of the round. But now what we're looking to do is we'll go Dwimveandra, reset the order ability, which is going to put a whole bunch of frost on the board, and then this time we're going to go add some frost and replay a Bronze Wild Hunt. So just add some frost there, replay you, which is why we'd like for you to stay alive. so that we can then boost up. Are we going to replay you? We are going to replay you with teleportation. We are going to replay you, obviously, with the Red Riders. So I think we maybe just add the boost to Avallac'h. Which is, see, the numbers are going to add up, is the thing. The numbers are going to add up pretty quickly. But we do have, the problem is, we don't really want to boost these two, because we're going to keep on replaying them. But that means they could destroy them before we replay them, but they realize there's no way they can stop this. So they forfeit. So there's a look at a much requested Monsters Wild Hunt deck for standard mode. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.